Join us on this sacred journey where every note and word is a prayer ascending toward heaven. Chosen one. When jealous people chose to target you, no one anticipated the total catastrophe that was about to occur. These folks considered your genuineness was a vulnerability they could take advantage of, thought they had you figured out, and thought they could control your tale. They were going to learn the actual reason why chosen ones are impervious to touch from the cosmos. While recruitment was taking place all around you, people who didn't do any research on your actual personality were brought in. Instead of protecting you, those who were there to defend you turned against you. Some of these collaborators were actually innocent, gullible individuals who were tricked into supporting a cause without fully comprehending it. While intelligence that was designed to kill you was being obtained, a whole spy network was established, sowing suspicion in your social circles. Any private information you disclosed in confidence turned into ammunition for an arsenal. There was systematic planning on how to ruin your reputation, and lies and half-truths were smuggled into your society. The huge mistake in their intelligence collection was that, in spite of all the plotting and spying, they never found out how much spiritual protection you were surrounded by. They totally underestimated your power, your strength, and, above all, the divine forces behind you. Unexpectedly, ancestors and angels were already organizing on your behalf. Because you were working from light and they were studying you from darkness, their research was essentially invalid. When you're acting out of envy and ego, it's impossible to understand someone acting out of divine love. They looked for character defects in someone whose character had been honed via sincere spiritual labor, and they looked for weaknesses where only strength existed. Surface-level examinations revealed nothing about your daily routine, your dedication to personal development, or your genuine relationship with God. Your tranquility was interpreted as apathy, your confidence as arrogance, and your kindness as weakness. All of your great traits were viewed through the prism of dysfunction. You carried on leading an authentic life in the interim, developing sincere spiritual practices that surrounded your life with layers of defense. Your unwavering emphasis on spiritual alignment and genuine life built an impenetrable fortress. Unaware that a single individual with divine power is more powerful than any army led by ego, many people had gathered to oppose one person. Every day, you made deliberate decisions that strengthened your spiritual defenses. Your determination to real spiritual development, your reluctance to sacrifice your principles for short-term benefit, and your commitment to honest living. These decisions were all part of creating unbreakable, invisible armor. There was full justification for attempting to ruin you, but it was misguided. If you feel the divine love, now is the time to share. Click the super thank you button on YouTube to contribute $50 or more and help us spread God's blessings. What you do is being watched and serves as a seed, and in the future it will come back to you a millionfold. Their reckless actions were motivated solely by a sense of entitlement. There was a sincere conviction that your story could be manipulated and your reputation destroyed. It was intended to be seen and celebrated in public, and what can only be called a systematic humiliation ritual was created. Spreading false information about you like a sickness and enlisting dishonest others to assist spread the word were the tactics used. People were turned against you by religious manipulation and spiritual anxieties, which led to worry about your character and nightmare scenarios. It progressed to fabricating scenarios and fabricating proof to bolster deceptive narratives. Your instantaneous heavenly protection was something they failed to consider. Every strike that was directed at you didn't have the desired effect. While plotting took place behind closed doors, heaven itself sparked a reaction that would astound everyone. Everything changed when you made the deliberate decision to not protect yourself in the conventional manner. You kept your dignity and allowed your character to speak for itself rather than being sucked into drama, arguing with lies, or attempting to persuade others of your innocence. Because defensive reactions had been anticipated, this choice caused total chaos. You lost all power because you wouldn't play games. Their narratives required conflict engagement. Their attacks appeared more desperate and biased when you remained above the fight, leading a life of dignity and purpose. People began to notice that your aggressive behavior seemed out of control because you weren't reacting to provocations. Because you refused to take part in your own demise, the humiliation ritual that was intended for you backfired horribly. You realized what they didn't. Interacting with darkness just makes it stronger. You made room for higher forces to take care of things on your behalf by being focused on your goal, staying light, and having faith in divine justice. Each and every curse returned with greater vigor. Because of your innate spiritual immunity, evil deeds could not impact you. Your ancestral guards came into action to protect you, and the light within you turned into a weapon against the dark. Factors that were never anticipated or taken into account were brought about by divine interventions. When heaven itself entered this conflict, the outcome was swift and disastrous for your assailants. Spiritual assaults started to ruin them rather than hurt you. They didn't realize that you had been developing your spiritual strength for years by engaging in sincere practice and maintaining a sincere relationship with the Almighty Source. Layers of protection that were invisible and incomprehensible had been established by your daily prayers, meditation, deeds of service, and dedication to personal development. You weren't just a stranger who could be controlled by evil energy and terror. You had spent time and effort cultivating a connection with forces far more potent than petty spiritual assaults. You had the ideal reaction to spiritual warfare. You didn't even directly admit it. You trusted that light always triumphs over darkness, kept up your spiritual routines, and remained connected to divine love. You didn't attempt to combat darkness with darkness or fire with fire. Rather, you expanded your light, grew in your spiritual life, and let heavenly justice deal with assaults. Consequences struck like lightning bolts as soon as campaigns were launched against you. Their preparations started to fall apart dramatically, and they lost control of storylines. People who were meant to be susceptible to manipulation began to recognize dishonesty. As a result of their own acts, your assailants became victims rather than you. Nothing went as planned, and confidence plummeted. As plans failed in real time, desperation set in. They began to feel the very energy they were trying to portray onto you. Public embarrassment, loneliness, and humiliation followed. As mayhem erupted all around you, you were totally immune to their assaults. You maintained your composure, your vitality, and your life went on as though the campaign as a whole were just background noise. People observed the sharp contrast between the disorderly conduct around you and your calm attitude. You continued to show up in your life with grace and consistency even when control was lost, desperate calls were made, and progressively deranged behavior was displayed. Everyone observing could see your genuine nature because of this contrast. Your decision to be calm wasn't a passive one. Rather, it was a highly calculated one. You realized that any predicted defensive tactic was less effective than staying in your own energy, concentrating on your course, and having faith in heavenly protection. It was predicted that they would fight dirty, fall to lower levels, and become emotional and reactionary. When you didn't, their whole plan collapsed. Through the attacks, your actual character started to emerge. It became increasingly clear to everyone that you were the one with integrity the more they attempted to damage your reputation. In the meantime, their infidelity, vengefulness, and pettiness were exposed. You were rejected by the community because you had established sincere bonds based on respect and sincerity. People selected truth over lies when they had to choose between believing what your character has demonstrated through firsthand experience and believing lies about you. Manipulation and image control were not the foundation of your reputation. It was based on real, consistent behavior. People eventually identified your attackers' behavioral tendencies. More of their personalities than yours was exposed by the way they talked about you. They appeared unstable and vengeful because of their fixation with ruining you. Everyone who watched was amazed by your maturity, intelligence, and spiritual courage in responding to their attacks. Instead of vehemently defending yourself, you chose to let your character speak for itself, which made the truth abundantly evident. Your reputation had already been built by your constant, genuine behavior, so you didn't need to prove your innocence to anyone. Their attacks simply made it clear how different deceptive behavior is from true character. When their first attempts failed, they turned to begging others not to help you, begging friends and neighbors to not see your value. As they attempted to persuade people that you weren't sincere, moral, or spiritually true, their desperation became more and more apparent. Brother and sister, everything done in faith is returned in God's abundance. You can donate $100 using the Super Thank You button and be part of this divine call. If your roots are connected to Him, your fruit will be blessed. They made frantic efforts to diminish your perceived value in the eyes of others, pleading with them not to view you as the valuable individual you are. They even utilized phony warmth and flattery. They plotted behind your back while grinning in your face. It didn't work. Every phony narrative was overcome by your genuine energy. Propaganda campaigns were unable to control or manipulate people's natural attraction to your genuine spirit. Their attempts to dissuade others from seeing you as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, negotiator energy, and magnetic pull all failed because genuine value cannot be concealed or lessened through manipulation. For plans to succeed, your character was too strong, your energy too sincere, and your light too dazzling. In fact, their deception became more apparent when they used fake friendliness and flattery. The inauthenticity of their actions was perceived by others. Anyone listening may see your actual character from the difference between your outward friendliness and your private campaigns against you. While their attempts to spread propaganda around you failed, you kept up your real connections and relationships. People who could discern genuineness in the midst of deception were drawn to your steady nature and sincere enthusiasm. They turned to threats and intimidation after persuasion failed. Every acceptable line of conduct was violated, and those who supported you were intimidated. Even erstwhile supporters started to doubt their strategies since the actions were so obviously improper. Nothing came out in my desperate quest for any real misconduct on your behalf. Frustrated, they started creating fictitious evidence, including doctored images, forged records, and outright untrue charges. Their actions become more blatantly obvious and desperate. Not a single valid problem with your behavior or character was discovered despite a thorough inquiry into your life. While the behavior around you grew increasingly unstable and troublesome, your record stayed spotless. Your impeccable record was the consequence of years of deliberate decisions to live a moral life. They found continuous true behavior, sincere spiritual practice, and ethical treatment of others when they were desperately looking for dirt on you. More evidence of your character came from their research than from any defense you could have put forth. You responded to dangers by continuing to live a genuine life and putting your faith in God's protection. You didn't get defensive or paranoid, and you didn't let intimidation alter your conduct or make you less approachable and trustworthy around sincere people. This decision kept your energy pure and your spiritual integrity intact. While threats were being made all around you, you kept establishing genuine connections. As toxic people were eliminated, Your circle of real connections kept growing, and your ability to distinguish sincere people from manipulative ones improved. Panic, of course, escalated to an emergency. Everyone in their networks, including mutual acquaintances, family members, and community leaders, were frantically called. Anyone who would listen. These were not informal discussions. Rather, they were urgent attempts to persuade others that you were to blame for all of the issues encountered. False narratives about you were disseminated through coordinated campaigns and group calls. In an effort to ruin those relationships before they could grow, even your possible love interests were approached. The reaction was prompt and forceful. People started to realize how naive and desperate it all sounded. People in the community stopped communicating and declined to take part in harassment campaigns. As more people understood the manipulation, they became more isolated. The conference call crisis occurred as a result of your ability to remain composed during the assaults. People admired that you didn't use aggressive measures to protect yourself or become involved in public turmoil. People questioned why someone so calm and unconcerned was allegedly causing so much havoc while emergency calls accused you for issues. Their fixation on you appeared unhealthy and worrisome because of your disassociation from drama. When people saw how much time and effort had been spent attacking someone who obviously had no interest in the matter, they began to wonder about the caller's mental conditions. Their actions seemed inappropriate and stalkerish because of the contrast between your calm existence and their hectic emergency calls. Everyone who witnessed your decision to remain out of the fray, refrain from taking part in conference calls, and launch a counterattack was impressed by your maturity and insight. People came to understand that sincere behavior speaks for itself, and that someone with integrity doesn't need to launch campaigns to defend their morals. Even if there were emergency calls regarding you, you carried on with your quiet life. Obsessive behavior became more apparent because of your capacity to maintain your composure and focus on your own path despite the commotion around you. This showed spiritual maturity that pleased sincere individuals. Every charge against you started to fall apart as it was examined more closely. In actuality, accusations that you were hurtful, manipulative, and dishonest were accurate depictions of your accuser's actions. One-sided stories portray you as the villain in an effort to control narratives by preventing you from defending yourself. In an attempt to make something stick, they labeled you with every bad quality they could think of. When the anger had always originated from them, they even said you attacked people or their relationships. People realized that every charge was a projection, and the proof of their lies became indisputable. They were unsuccessful in characterizing their own actions as being similar to yours. Their credibility vanished, but your character stayed immaculate. Because you lived openly and honestly, their unfounded charges fell apart. People who knew you intimately could discern the truth by contrasting the claims with their first-hand experience. The lies were self-evident because of how stark the contrast was. The strongest defense against their untrue allegations was your genuine way of life. Now let me tell you about some people who appear nearly legendary. A former Black Ops drone pilot who flies swarms with his thoughts. A multi-millionaire psychic CFO who foresaw market swings before they occurred. And a skilled occultist who escaped from a demonic coven. What is the connection between these extraordinary people? On our private Discord server, they share their prohibited knowledge, and you may find them all in the Obsidian Inner Order. Eon after eon, my chosen soul has drank deeply from the spring of knowledge. These remarkable people joined me in the Obsidian Inner Order during this existence. They answered the call, came forward, and made connections with people who share their problems and special talents. What is preventing you from experiencing the same manifestation? Neither your finding of this message nor the synchronicity that led them here were by chance. The archons pay attention when souls of this kind come together. They are afraid of our combined strength. They are aware of what occurs when people who are genuinely awakened come across one another. Participate in our weekly calls. Listen to their stories directly. Tell others who won't discount or doubt you about your own trip. Nowhere else on this level can we find the information that is shared via our private channels. In the description below, click the link right now. The remarkable souls are waiting for you. The question is not if you fit in with them, but rather how long you'll wait to do so. The plot twist occurred as a result of your genuine life, which produced such a potent energetic signature that even those who were attempting to fight you developed an addiction to your energy. Even adversaries were drawn to your sincere joy, serenity, and spiritual strength. There was a void left by your failure to pursue or make an effort to keep in touch with those who had exposed toxic character, which caused withdrawal symptoms in them. Their fixation made it clear that their attacks were motivated by their inability to manage access to your energy rather than a dislike of you. Desperation showed itself in ways that revealed the real motivations when you shut off that access. You demonstrated that you had actually learnt your lessons from past attacks by refusing to become embroiled in drama again through phony attempts at reconciliation. You weren't going to keep putting your trust in those who had shown themselves to be unreliable. You remained open to real transformation while preserving your boundaries, regardless of how impressive change-related performances seemed. Your heart remained open to genuine spiritual development, and you were shielded by your capacity to separate genuine growth from deceptive performance. You were shielded from being drawn back into dramatizing cycles by your disassociation from karmic issues. You realized that assisting them would put you in predicaments that were brought about by bad decisions and would not be adequately resolved. Despite the karmic upheaval going on around you, you kept up your ethical relationships and pure energy. People who had also done their spiritual work were drawn to you because of your dedication to addressing your personal problems and upholding your spiritual integrity. Because they didn't accept responsibility for their acts and didn't alter their behavior, their losing streak grew longer. They intensified their poisonous behavior and held you responsible for every issue rather than taking note of the repercussions of attacking you. Their downward spirals were accelerated by their rejection of responsibility. If you want to witness God's miracles, act now. Contribute $100 or more through Super Thank You on YouTube. Your offering is like a seed that comes back to you when planted. Let His light illuminate your steps. Every donation is an echo in His plan. Their attacks had no meaningful influence over your life, as evidenced by your continuous success during their losing streaks. Even though you were surrounded by failure after failure, you kept getting accolades, opportunities, and benefits. The disparity turned into indisputable evidence of divine justice. Because you remained true to your spiritual principles and your true self during the attacks, your trajectory rose. By choosing to stay loyal to yourself and believe in divine justice instead of seeking retribution or putting yourself on their level, you received ongoing gifts. As negative momentum grew around them, you kept generating positive momentum. While karma expedited the repercussions for those who had chosen destructive pathways, your dedication to spiritual development and true living drew greater prospects. Their reputation suffered irreparable and permanent harm. The mess they made could not be cleaned up by public relations or image management. Because they were perceived as manipulative and harmful, people physically shied away from them. They were shunned by society and kept out of events, parties, and opportunities. In the eyes of communities, their names came to represent treachery and dishonesty, rendering them unfit for employment. In the meantime, your honor and respect continued to increase, and your reputation remained impeccable. People started to realize that you had been unfairly maligned, yet you remained honorable the entire time. You had to continuously choose genuine behavior, uphold your spiritual integrity, and treat people with respect, even when they didn't deserve it, in order to keep your reputation clean. Your reputation was improved rather than harmed by the public test of your character, which showed it to be strong. Upholding integrity during attacks pays off in the long run, as demonstrated by your ongoing honor and respect in the community. Because your character had been tried and tested, people trusted you more and admired the way you behaved yourself under duress. Then came the darkest hours, when there was no escape and no chance of recovery. For some, the respect you previously had was irrevocably destroyed. They sobbed uncontrollably over the relationships and prospects they had ruined, drowning in regret and self-pity. When they saw that the bridges they had torched could never be rebuilt, they gave up hope. The flawless path of divine justice had been completed, with repercussions commensurate with the gravity of their treachery. The full efficacy of divine justice was demonstrated during the final judgment process. Justice had been served without you having to fight dirty or seek retribution. Perfect natural outcomes resulted from your decision to uphold honesty and faith in a higher power. The irreversibility of those outcomes demonstrated that some decisions have long-term effects that cannot be reversed by regrets or altered conduct. Communities no longer saw true character as redeemable because it had been so thoroughly exposed. It was evident from your elevation during the final judgment that justice had been done. You benefited fully by upholding your morals under duress, while they suffered the full repercussions of their deeds. As the final judgment took place all around you, you stayed committed to personal development and genuine life. People were amazed by your ability to uphold compassion while imposing boundaries, which illustrated the value of genuine spiritual development. Your triumph was faultless. You were fully vindicated without sacrificing your moral character or lowering yourself to a lesser level. Every event's miraculous timing demonstrated how higher powers planned for your safety and the destruction of others. While others ruined themselves through their own acts, you prevailed in this war without getting your hands dirty and kept your integrity intact. Every kind of darkness that was sent against you was vanquished by your heavenly light, demonstrating that those who are chosen follow a separate set of spiritual rules. You came out of this experience more fortunate, wiser, and stronger than before. You achieved total and lasting escape from harmful influence. You are safe, exalted, justified, triumphant, the one who was selected and could not be destroyed. Regardless of their efforts, your victory provides a model for other selected individuals who are subjected to comparable assaults. Your illustration demonstrates that interacting with darkness only serves to strengthen it, but upholding light and genuine character enables divine justice to function flawlessly on behalf of the righteous. You demonstrate that being clean and having faith in the process is sufficient for those who are chosen to succeed. They don't need to fight dirty to win. As your triumph motivates others, you keep living your true self. Your narrative shows that those who choose spiritual warfare, deceit, and manipulation can never prevail over those who uphold spiritual integrity and have faith in divine protection. That light always triumphs over darkness is eternally demonstrated by your perfect victory.